welcome to today's topic. First of all, this topic is for anyone who wants to learn programming, and basically, it's about motivation and your interest and how well you will take a path to learn any programming language. But first of all, I want you to have a look at this clip. And I have created playlists already if you want to dig deeper into a particular topic for you. Also, I am enclosing inside the video's description box link to my website, uh, which is from an old website, so a detailed list of everyday videos that I make, that I have made, and take the viewing pleasure from there, because it's much easier. You can't show all the videos on the YouTube platform, so I've created a website where you can see anything you like at a click of a button. Why do we have to learn multiple programming languages? First of all, I'll talk about my experience. When I started out C++, I was only learning one programming language back in university, and at that time I realized that after I graduated, the market demand at the time was for web development in the market. So I had to learn HTML code, JavaScript, PHP, and ASP.NET, which took the learning process to a whole new level, in a new direction. But overall, I had by now learned a few different platforms, which was enough to get me in my first entry-level position web development job. So, in other words, why is it necessary to learn multiple programming languages? There are many reasons that it has its advantages. It's like, you learn just one discipline, and you'll get better in that. But if you learn several, then you'll have a wider exposure to market. It seems a good number of students want to join the platform with the opinion that they would rather fully master a single language than split their efforts. While plan to explain this better in itself moving forward, better to learn multiple platforms rather than one. So, if you take a curriculum to be taught in a single language, you look at a full computer science curriculum, you'll see that it's basically impossible. That you don't just learn one language, you got to learn a series of different platforms. There are certain concepts that are so tightly crisscrossed with a specific technology that it makes no sense trying to teach them all the same way. Let's take a look at some examples. It's hard to really teach database without SQL. See, there you go. You need SQL and database. They're two technologies. It's hard to teach functional programming without purely functional language. It's hard to teach object-oriented programming without object-oriented language. So yeah, you need to have an object-oriented language such as C++ or Python. It's hard to teach hardware interfaces without an assembler. It's hard to teach typing without a strongly typed language, for instance. And also, it's hard to teach web without JavaScript, because web development is based on JavaScript. Because if there is no JavaScript, then all those mathematical things, those functions, those side scripts that run in HTML wouldn't be possible. So there's so many examples. And it's hard to teach machine learning without Python. So Python is linked with machine learning. So you have to have a combination of technologies and platforms. So you should have two completing goals. You want to teach all the concept using as few technologies as possible, because now there are a range of technologies. You want to teach all the concept using technologies that teach the concept best at most. So you should use the least number of technologies with the maximum learning curve. So how many languages are you going to learn? This question is entirely up to you. If you only ever write one programming language, it's easy to assume a certain way of doing things the best way, the right way, or maybe even the only way. By familiarizing you with several languages, firmly believe you will have a deeper understanding of each technology and when you might want to use different tools. Learn to code by writing code. That's the best way. You have to do it by practice, by mathematics. Now, the question that I am raising is that will I be jack of all trades, master of none? See, the thing is, if you get your hands dirty into one profession, then you should be really good at it. But if you get your hands dirty at a lot of technology, then it's very hard to be good at all of them because it's not humanly possible. I mean, you could, but you have to try it. You have to really try hard. For someone who's just average learner, for instance. Personally, I don't think so. I really do think that if you were to focus on only a single programming language from the start of your learning journey up to until your first coding job, you would actually be in a worse shape than if you spent some time broadening your horizons. See, that's the thing. It's diversify. That's what we learned back in university. It's better to diversify than to just specialize in one language. Some people assume that learning to code is about learning programming language. They think that if you learn Python and then want to learn JavaScript, you'll be starting over from zero. That couldn't be further from the truth. Learning your second programming language will take 1/5 of the time that it took you to learn your first. That's because 80% of the concepts you learn will apply to both languages. They're so similar, the coding languages. Once you use 3 or 4 different coding languages, you can look at code in almost any language and understand that it says. You might find yourself needing to look up syntax error occasionally, but everyone does that anyways. If you're in university curriculum right now, you might have noticed that the 3 best languages to learn these days is JavaScript, Python, and for instance, or a mix or match of any of those 3. You can't really get away from JavaScript these days. It's hard to learn the backend programming without first understanding why backend exists. A backend only exists as a power front end, so it makes sense that we would need to teach you a front end basics first if we're going to build a front end on the web. It almost certainly will be use JavaScript. So that's the reason why they use JavaScript and use Python. Python is one of the main languages right now that is happening with data science and machine learning. Synthetically speaking, algorithms and data structures are concepts that students often find more difficult to master. So it made sense to us to choose a language that would allow our students to focus as much as possible on logic. Python also reads like English in many ways. That's the beauty of Python. It's just like English words, in sentence. And which again makes it easier to see what an algorithm in Python is doing at a glance. Additionally, we have artificial intelligence machine learning content towards the end of the curriculum, so that's another field to dig into. So it's 2 birds with 1 stone when you learn Python, basically. And Python is the way to go. Well, I thought I mentioned a couple of the emerging popular technologies, languages that you should learn in a computer science curriculum, which is JavaScript, Python, and why it is better to learn several languages rather than one. because it makes your life much more demand and broadens your horizon. Well, as always, if you enjoyed the video, click the like icon, and if you want to see more of the videos, click the red button. Ta-da, I'm Shabi.
Enjoy this video? Then must have a look at these videos.